Thank you, Gail and Gemma. And that's right, this session I am going to be looking at preparing the soil. But what do we mean when we talk about preparing the soil? I think it's about helping families to create that safe, warm, loving environment, that place where they feel confident, where they feel equipped to plant seeds of faith in their children's lives. It might be helping them to overcome some of the hurdles that Gareth has touched upon. But what can we do to help create that good, rich soil, that soil that Jesus talks about in the parable of the sower, where children's faith has chance to take root and to grow? And we know that there are no guarantees. We often talk about at Care for the Family how God has no grandchildren, that each of us has to come to faith on our own. So we as parents can do everything, but ultimately it's that relationship that our children form with God, which is important. But what can we do as church leaders to help parents to create that soil where their children have the best chance of flourishing and growing? Now, I've been working with families and children probably for the last 20 years. And in my experience, I have discovered that it's key to know our families, to know individual families, to know their needs and what they are facing at any given time, so that we are prepared and equipped to help them in the good times and help them in the bad times. Now, at Care for the Family, we know, and you will know in your churches, that no two families are the same. We know that there will be single families. There will be two-parent families, adoptive families, those that are fostering. There will be blended families facing their challenges. We know that there will be, and we've seen it already, the discussions that are going on this morning, there will be families where both parents share faith and where one doesn't. We know that there will be the challenges that parents face in every day, the challenges that they face in juggling the demands of working and school and home life. But then there will be parents who face additional challenges. Maybe they have children with additional needs. Maybe they are going through medical challenges themselves or have suffered loss and bereavement. And at Care for the Family, we have for the last 30 years been strengthening family life. Our vision is that every family, every parent would have somebody to turn to in the good times and when life is more challenging. And we hope that we will always only help families when they are struggling, but we will lay good principles, good foundations in family life when it's good, so that when the inevitable challenges of life come, they are in a good position to deal with those. In other words, it's that analogy again of creating that good soil. And at Care for the Family, we have lots of resources to equip churches, lots of resources to help build strong marriages, strong parent-child relationships. And as we know our individual families, as we get to know their needs, get to know their seasons of life, we'll be able to signpost, we'll be able to help them in those seasons. I think an important way that we can help families is practically. We can give that practical help. And I'm going to tell you a little story about a lady that I supported last year who really helped me to see the practical input can make such a difference. She was a single mum. She worked full-time. She had just bought her first home. She didn't drive, and she had to catch a bus every morning from her home to the children's school. But on the way, she had to drop the children at their childcare provider because it was too early for school, so she'd have to drop them to the childcare provider. From there, she would then catch a further bus to her place of employment while the childcare provider actually took the children to school. And then at the end of the day, that process was reversed. So sometimes they'd be out of the house for up to 12 hours a day. When they got home, they'd have the usual meals to cook, homework to do, and then it would be the bedtime routine. And she did an amazingly great job. She tackled those challenges well, she juggled so much. And then a few additional challenges came her way. The childcare provider told her that they could no longer take the children to and from school, that they could look after the children, but she would have to make other arrangements to get them to and from school. She also paid to have a bathroom designed and fitted by a reputable company in a brand new home. It came, it didn't fit. And the company were not helpful at all in getting that rectified for her. Now, they might seem like small challenges, but when you're juggling so much as parents, these things coming into the mix can seem overwhelming. And they did. They seemed overwhelming for her. So as a church, we practically helped. We temporarily arranged for the children to be taken from the childcare provider and to school and back each day. And we helped her to contact the company to get the bathroom situation rectified. I was at home one evening and the phone rang, and it was quite late, and it was this lady. And I thought straight away, oh no, what's happened? But when I rang back and she answered the phone, her voice on the other end of the line could not contain its excitement. A mum at the school had offered to take her children to and from the childcare provider to school every day because she walked past there on her own route with her children to and from school. And she was so excited. She was excited because she explained that us helping practically had taken some pressure off her. It had allowed her to have time and thinking space, as she put it, to talk to her children about the situation, to pray with them. And those girls that evening knew that it was God's answer to prayer. I think sometimes we underestimate how a simple act of kindness, a practical help, how some encouragement for parents can make such a massive, massive difference in their lives. Not just practically, but as we've heard, it had a knock-on effect spiritually. And by helping families to deal with some of the practical challenges that they will face, we remove some weeds, we remove some stones, and we help them to have that chance to plant in good, solid seeds, solid soil. It might be as simple as accompanying a family to a medical appointment. It might be arranging to get your whole church involved and for cooking meals for a family when they're going through a difficult time, or maybe when they've had a new baby. We have just completed a house renovation in my home. I have been without a kitchen for 4 months. But it has been the meals from my family at church that have come around. They've delivered home-cooked meals to us of an evening that's kept me sane. It's kept my patience levels at a reasonable level. It's helped me to be a better mum, so I haven't lost the plot every single day as I've tried to cook using a slow cooker and a microwave and a George Foreman. And it's been a simple act of kindness and a practical help, but it's had a knock-on effect with how I've managed my family life. It might be that you can run one of the Care for the Family marriage and parenting courses. There's a whole host of different resources that we have for the different stages of family life. And what I think it says to families as we help them practically is that we're in this with you. We are your family. We are journeying with you in the ups and downs of life. We are here to support you, to be that helping hand, to help you on this adventure. And that practical help not only gives practical help, but it has a knock-on effect spiritually because it builds trust. It allows those families to see that we're on their side, that we're there championing them in this journey. And as they trust us, then they allow us and trust us to speak spiritually into their family life. So then that helps us to build spiritually. We've heard earlier from Gareth that often parents feel inadequate to share faith with their children. They worry they won't have the answers. They worry that they're not good enough or that they'll get it wrong. And I think, first of all, as churches and as church leaders, it'll be helpful for us to remind parents that this is a journey that we're all on together. It'll be helpful for them to know that this is a journey that they're learning and growing with their children. That they might not have the answers, that they might not always get it right. And I think if we talk about it in those terms from the front of our church, if we give examples of where we've messed up, where we've got it wrong, where we didn't know the answers, that can take pressure off parents. It can help them to see that they don't have to be, and they're not a theological expert, and they haven't got to have it all together, all right, all the time. And as we look at helping parents to strengthen their relationship with God, it may also be helpful for us to look at what we do that practically disciples adults in our congregation. to ask ourselves the question, is what we put on, is maybe our small groups, our Bible studies, are they at times that are helpful for parents with small children, where babysitting challenges are an issue, we're working long schedules and coming home and having to get the children bathed and in bed? Do these things help them? And if they don't, if they're not at times that are suitable, how can we involve our whole church? Can we involve them in babysitting and helping? Can we rearrange what we do so it's at times that are more suitable for young families? I've come across a church recently who've changed their small groups so that they are more conducive to family life. They meet once a month as a group, all the adults, so that parents have that time to be invested, to have those conversations that maybe they don't want to have in front of their children, to work things out with other adults in a setting that's useful and helpful for them. But then once a month, they meet together on a Sunday with their children. They allow their children to be part of what they are doing, to be part of those conversations, allowing their children to see their faith in action and building that community and that culture within their churches, that we are in this, on a journey together. Another church I know have arranged it so that they have a prayer meeting in the day, not just in an evening. They have it in the day where parents that are not working can attend. And they come and they meet with a lot of other parents who happen to be retired and older members of the congregation. They come when their children are in school or bring their toddlers with them. And what it allows is that opportunity for them to pray together, to listen and to speak with people who are maybe a bit further on in the parenting journey themselves or are retired grandparents themselves. But it allows not only the toddlers to see this faith in action, what the parents' relationship with God means to them, but it helps parents to feel discipled, encouraged, equipped, supported by other members of the congregation. Another point that Gareth has picked up on earlier is, do we talk about parents nurturing their children's faith in terms of discipling their children? Do we talk about it in terms of this being parents' ministry? And I think when we do, when we phrase it in those ways, when we talk about that in the culture of our churches, parents feel empowered. We will invest so much in other ministries in our church. We will send our children's workers on great courses. We will listen to and attend leadership days ourselves. But how do we equip and encourage parents in this amazing opportunity and ministry they have to disciple this next generation? Parenting for Faith and Care for the Family have a whole host of resources that can help us as churches. They have whole church resources that will be able to change cultures and equip churches to do this as a whole. But we also have a number of different small group resources that you can run with parents in your congregations. It allows parents to come together and to talk about their own journey of faith. Gaz has touched on it earlier, those questions to ask, why is faith important to me? And why is it important to my children? It allows parents that opportunity to grow with others and to talk about simple, practical ways that they can bring their faith into everyday home life, in the ups and downs. They have the opportunities to talk about when they get it right, but sometimes more importantly, when they got it wrong or they feel like they're struggling, because it helps to have other parents in this journey with you. It helps parents to see that they're doing great, they're doing a good job, and that this is about finding a rhythm that works in their family unit, which will be different for every single one of us. And by arranging these opportunities, by really empowering and investing in families, it says to them that we are in this journey with you. We're not just interested in putting in on a great provision on a Sunday for your children or a great kids club. We are in this with you in the everyday of life. I met a young mum at one of the Christian festivals last year. She approached the kitchen table project stand, and she had a very energetic 4-year-old and a grizzly baby in the pram. But we managed to have a conversation. I was able to talk to her about the work of the kitchen table project and what we were doing to give parents the opportunity to realize the amazing opportunity they had right now to influence and disciple their children. And she left with information. She left with one of our small group resources. And a little while later, she came back, emotional, with tears in her eyes. And she told me how, before the children, both her and her husband had had great careers. They'd been heavily involved in ministry in the church. But since the children had been born for the last 4 years, she'd stayed home to look after them. And she felt a little bit redundant. She felt a little bit left behind, that she'd lost her purpose. But that conversation with me had changed everything. It had helped her to see what an amazing opportunity she had to sow seeds of faith in her children's lives. But not only that, it had given her that opportunity where she knew she could gather together other mums from the toddler group, from her church, over coffee at her home, just to talk about this together, and together to be that support and encouragement for one another. And that was an eye-opener for me. Just that little conversation had just empowered that mum in so many ways. And as our churches show parents that we're in this with them, as we gather opportunities for parents to come together, to share ideas with one another, as we create opportunities to invest in families, to pray with families, then hopefully we create a good soil. We give that environment, we give them confidence in nurturing their children's faith in everyday life.